thank you so much for clicking on to this video. I'm so happy to be back filming another video for all of you. It's been a year, not really, but it's been close to it since I have made a video, and it stinks that I had to take a break, but it was just necessary. I explained it kind of in my last video, but I had a lot of big life changes. I'm not gonna bore you with them, but definitely I have a new background. It's not great. I've moved. I got engaged to my wonderful now fiance, and we bought a house. We are adjusting, and I do not have any furniture in my office except for my desk. So the sound is not great. I know that I need to invest in a microphone, which I plan on doing. My backdrop will get better, and so will definitely the sound quality of this video. If you can stick with me through this video, then we will be good to go, because by the next video, there's a car going by. I just want to say again from the video I posted last week, I do not have a usable community tab, so for updates, it's best to follow me on my Instagram, which is Lexie Reeves. So there will be one more part to the Gannon Stauch case. This one is almost like, kind of like a timeline to finish up the timeline we started in the last video. So if you haven't seen part one, I definitely encourage you to watch that one first and then watch this one. The next part will be going over the affidavit, and that will be way detailed. This one's more of kind of like a segue into that. So if this one's shorter or less detailed, it's just because I want to get through the timeline so we can start talking about the details of that arrest affidavit. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video, which is part 2 of the Gannon Stauch case. As usual, I want to give a disclaimer saying that I mean no harm to anyone by making this video. It is all coming from a place of trying to bring awareness to these cases and to these individuals. I mean no harm to the family, no harm to the friends of the victims or the victim's family. I hope that you know that I'm coming from a place of good, pure intentions only. I would never do anything to harm or hinder any kind of investigation. I'm only presenting information that was made public. I would never try to get any information that wasn't public. It is only completely for awareness and entertainment purposes. And by entertainment, that sounds kind of tone deaf. I mean it in the sense of a lot of people are interested in true crime, and it is a platform and a format to get information about these victims out there to the public. I just combined a bunch of information into one format of one script, and I read that information aloud. I spend a lot of time researching to make sure that the information I provide is accurate. I always link all of the sources that I use below, and I try to give credit where credit is due. So I hope that you understand that this comes from a place of love. My intentions are pure, and I hope that you can enjoy this video. Understand that there are people out there who this affects personally. So in the comments, if you comment, please be aware of that. Imagine this was your family, your loved one. Please keep everything kind and coming from a place of love. So to refresh your memory, since it has been such a long time since I've uploaded part 1, hopefully you've been keeping up with this case outside of just my videos, but just a refresher, Gannon Stauch is a beautiful boy who went missing from the Colorado Springs, Colorado area. He was initially deemed a runaway, but later on was deemed, within like days, his case was upgraded to a missing and endangered person case. His stepmother, Tisha Stauch, was the last person to see him alive. His mother's name is Landon. She lives in a different state. And Tisha, her husband, Gannon's father, Landon's ex-husband, is Al. He was on a trip to Denver, I believe it was. And Tisha has an older daughter named Harley, and then Al and Landon have Gannon and Gannon's younger sister, Lena. So where we left off in the last video was on February 4th, Al and Tisha and Gannon's neighbor, Mr. Roderick Drayton, released video footage that he had picked up on his home security camera, a video where Tisha had lied about Gannon coming home with her that day. But as time has gone by, they now believe that Gannon did get out of the vehicle and he went in on the other side. It's all alleged, it's all speculation. There's not much about this case that has been released, but we will talk about that more in the next video. But they did say that they believe Gannon possibly went in on the other side. On February 5th, which is the day after Mr. Drayton released the footage, Lena, which was Al and Landon's youngest daughter, she, along with her parents, Al and Landon, made a plea video and released it on YouTube. So essentially, a plea video is just a video asking for whoever has their child to please contact them, let their child go. And they also speak directly to Gannon in that video, stating that they're heartbroken and they want him to come home. That same day, the district attorney visits the Stauch family home, and it's not released at that time why. Which, to me, as this was going on, which now we know what happens, but at the time, it was kind of odd that the district attorney visited the home, because we, at the time, weren't sure if this was considered like a criminal investigation or if it was still like speculation that maybe he ran away. So it was a little odd that he visited the home at that time. The night of February 5th, a reporter was doing a story on the Gannon Stauch missing case, and they caught something interesting. As they were filming their video, there was a lot of yelling and a lot of flashing lights and things that caused them to think something was going on in the house. Allegedly, you could hear someone saying, "Why are you here? What are you doing here?" But nothing really came of that night and of that story. February 6th, the search extends to the Big Johnson Reservoir in Colorado Springs. According to alltrails.com, Big Johnson Reservoir is a 4.6-mile, lightly trafficked out and back trail located near Colorado Springs, Colorado. So a reservoir obviously is just a body of water, and then there were trails surrounding that. During all of this search for Gannon, there was a lot of snow and ice and cold weather, so they had no luck finding anything because of the reservoir being frozen. Finally, on this day, the reservoir had thawed out. They did an extensive search of it, and there was still nothing that they were able to find there. They said that they were going to continue searching no matter what the weather was like. However, I think it is important to note that the weather was so bad with snow and ice that schools were closed, businesses were closed. So they really did have a hard time searching any areas due to that weather being so bad. But they said they were going to keep searching no matter what, and they did. The fire department, along with the dive team, went in and searched all of the ponds, lakes, and bodies of water in that area to see if they could find anything. They had people searching on foot, they had people on equipment searching. There were dogs and horses that they were using to help search, but allegedly and unfortunately they were not able to find anything. And if they did, it was not released to the public. Like I had mentioned in my previous video, there was a huge community turnout to help look for Gannon. And at this time, over 500 people volunteered to help search in these areas where snow was covering. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office did eventually go on to say that they no longer needed volunteers. They needed people who were able to and trained to handle evidence if they were to find any. February 7th, they used a remotely operated submersible sonar vehicle to search a pond near the Stauch home. They had searched areas all over. They had searched areas near the Stauch home, outside of the Stauch home, that were like flat trails, and everywhere that they could, obviously with the weather being as bad as it was. On February 8th is when the community held their prayer vigil to bring awareness and to kind of be there for the Stauch family. So that's when they held their prayer vigil for Gannon. This prayer vigil was held in Lorson Ranch, the area of Lorson Ranch where the Stauch family lived, and they all came to that neighborhood where they had already set up a beautiful memorial to try and garner attention to Gannon if he was out there, to see that, and also just in support of the Stauch family, because I just can't even imagine what they were going through at this time. Up until this point, Tisha had been just going insane on social media, posting that she was innocent and she did nothing wrong, and she was defending herself. Her sister was defending herself. This is around the time that the candle video was released to the public, but Tisha posted that herself, may I add, even though she goes on to say she didn't. That's just when a lot of the people that had Tisha's back were coming on and throwing Landon, Gannon's mother, under the bus, even though she had already had so much on her plate. They were saying that she was a drug addict and that Gannon showed Tisha videos of Landon being on drugs and things, just insane claims that she couldn't back up. And I can say one thing for sure, and that is that Landon loved Gannon. Now, what goes on behind closed doors, I can't say. None of us can, none of us are there, but I can say for sure that you can just tell that Landon loves Gannon and that Gannon loved Landon. And I just think that it's just awful that T was claiming all of these horrid things about Landon, who was already grieving, the fact that her son was missing out in this just chilling cold weather. By February 10th, over 300 tips had come into the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. They went through every single one of them and were continuing to investigate every one as much as they could to try to find Gannon. They released a statement, I believe it was on Facebook around this time, just saying, please do not call in any tips that aren't just very, very legitimate, because they were wasting a lot of time following up on rumors and things that people would call in, like he said, she said. On February 12th, Tisha released a statement to a local news station, Fox 31 in Denver, which I'm gonna read the whole thing, probably over a voiceover, just because the sound quality of this video is not great, and I think a voiceover would be much better since it's longer. She released a statement disputing pretty much everything that Mr. Drayton, the neighbor, had said about her. I'm sorry, I'm reading the statement as I'm saying it, so I make sure I hit all the points. She indicated that Gannon was with her the entire day, the entire time. He got out of the vehicle with her. She even has a time-stamped selfie, as she calls it, with him, disputing everything, saying that the timestamp selfie can be checked and that it would just completely destroy Mr. Drayton's standings. Hello, everything that I just said in that section was so incredibly confusing. Basically, the gist of what I was trying to say is that Tisha says allegedly she has this selfie that can be looked at further to see that the time and the date line up with when they were getting out of the vehicle. So she took this selfie when they were in the driveway in the video that Mr. Drayton says that Gannon wasn't with her. She says she can prove him incorrectly by showing people this selfie that has a timestamp on it, but she never shows it to anybody. So I mean, maybe she turned it into the police, and that's why the police believe that Gannon did get out of the vehicle, which we will go into in the next video. But anyways, I just felt like that was really confusing and I wanted to clear it up. Also, excuse the background of our house. We are moving. Anyways, back to the video. So again, I don't know if that comes into play, and that's why they think that he got out of the vehicle on the other side, or what came into play with that. But all that being said, let's read this statement. First and foremost, I would like to thank all agencies, volunteers, and community members who are working diligently and praying endlessly to bring Gannon home safe. Thank you to my husband who has stayed strong through this and protected our family to the best of his ability, and our immediate and extended family members throughout the East Coast. To Gannon, please come home soon because your daddy is waiting to watch the new Sonic movie that comes out this week, and the cool shirt I got you to wear to the theater is in your closet. Social media has been devastating, from the harsh comments, speculation, threats, cyberbullying, etc. It has been a challenge when people are trying to run you off the road, waiting outside of your hotel, threatening to kill you, etc. I encourage the sheriff's office to take down those pages that promote negative behavior and violence. Let's do what Gannon would do: be kind to one another. We all have engaged in something crazy online at some point, but Gannon would want everyone to get along and focus on finding him. I know that many people have kids and invested in this because it hits close to home for them. I would like to think that overall, most people are genuine and want to do everything in their power to find Gannon. With that being said, please take a step back for a moment and let me explain to you a few details that were not released. For example, just like the video that was leaked, there are additional details that were hidden due to 1. The department doing its job, 2. The effects of social media and how some individuals would criticize or hinder the investigation. I choose to listen. I didn't leak videos or information, but at this time, it's getting later in the process and we just want Gannon home. I feel the need to fill in some gaps. Now let me stress this. Police have known this since the first interview. Saturday night, Gannon was helping me unload in the garage and cut his foot because there was a lot of tools because Albert does woodworking. He sat on the edge of the car and we bandaged it up. He was good to go. He always loves helping his dad in the garage build things like his Lego table and the flower pot they built for me as a gift. After this, I noticed Gannon kept going to the side of the house. He told me he was going to check to see if the gate was locked because he was the only one with a gate key. It made him proud to be the man of the house while Albert was away. There was also proof from my phone that we had taken a selfie in the truck of our driveway that was time-stamped. We always send pictures to Albert when we are out and when he is away. Fast forward, we did a hike on Sunday, parentheses, cleared, and shopping on Monday, parentheses, cleared as well for him getting out of the other side. Please don't think for a second there isn't enough technology to determine shadows and movement around the truck. There was also proof from my phone that we had taken a selfie in our truck in the driveway that was time-stamped. We always send pictures to Albert when we are out and when he is away. This can be scanned for actual time verification. Last, from day 1 of the sheriff's office has known a description of the person/friend whom Gannon left with. I explained to them and provided evidence. They had information about Gannon having the key to go out of the side gate. Last, they have more in-depth details that go along with this, pointing to who sent the person or why he may have come. Again, I repeat that they have had this initially, and I was asked to keep quiet about it so they could have the best shot at doing their job to bring Gannon home. The last thing that they needed was a hindrance to their investigation. I encourage you to think of any suspicious cars that may have been in the area watching a few days prior and keep praying for Gannon. Tisha Stauch. First of all, I'm so sorry that I stuttered a lot. She has essentially no grammar in this, so it's kind of hard to read when there are a lot of run-on sentences. So a few things right off the bat that I noticed. I noticed in the first paragraph, this is really one of the bigger times that she's focused on Gannon to date. At this point, it had been 16 days since he had gone missing, and this is really one of the first times that she's solely focused on him and not just on herself. Also, in the first paragraph, she mentions thanking Al for being there for his family and sticking up for her, even though later on she mentions she's living in a hotel. 2 other things. 1, the interview that she does with Spencer Wilson from KKTV that we talk about in the first video, she talks about how she's moved out. She doesn't live with Al anymore. She's living in a hotel, that they had some turmoil between the 2 of them. And Mr. Drake mentions that Al was upset with T when he showed him that video footage and that he thought she was lying. So it's bizarre that she talks about her and Al as though they are fine when there are so many other things indicating that they are not. It seems as though her direct plea, to Gannon is still somehow more about her than it's about him. That's a personal opinion, whatever, but am I wrong? I mean, she uses Gannon as an excuse for people to stop harassing her. She says, don't harass me. It's not what Gannon would want. And he would want us to focus on finding him and not focus on me, and we should look for other suspects and things like that, which is, I don't know, it's just, it doesn't sit right with me. And she also talks about how she's not the one who released the video from the carpet incident, but she was. She is the one who recorded it. It was on her phone, so how else would it have been released? I mean, she posted it onto her Facebook trying, allegedly, to prove that Gannon was still alive after the hike, yet, because I believe she thought maybe a lot of people would think that she had done something to him on the hike, but she makes it, you know, very abundantly clear on Facebook that she's like, no, here is this video, and then she goes on to say she didn't, but there are screenshots and things where she did. So it's all bizarre. I think she thought it would prove her innocence when all it really did was prove that she's guilty of something, and no matter what else she's guilty of, she's clearly guilty of manipulation and manipulating Gannon, who is in a very vulnerable place, and making him out to be like he's a villain for accidentally knocking over this candle, and she doesn't treat him like a child. She talks to him like an adult, that you're almost gaslighting. Also, she talks about being cleared by the police over and over again. Like, she'll say, we went hiking, and then put in parentheses, like, oh, but it's cleared. Like, cleared. It's just weird that you would mention that. Like, why does, I don't know, maybe I'm looking too much into it. Maybe if I were in that situation, you know, that's something I would do. So I would hope people would understand, like, I've been cleared by the police, so chill out. But I don't know, it's just odd. She talks so much about proving her own innocence, and it's like Gannon is still missing at this point. Like, could we not make our plea about him instead of somehow turning it into being about you and your innocence? I don't know. Another thing that's odd to me is that she mentions his foot being cut the night before the hike, which is odd that she would mention that. It almost seems as though she's trying to say, like, if there's blood found, that's why. It seems very unnecessary to mention that, but she does. She took Gannon hiking the next day, and also the neighbor saw Lena and Gannon running around playing. So it's like, how can you do all of that if your foot's so cut open that you're having to bandage it up? I mean, kids are resilient, so it's possible that he was able to, but it's just all so strange. He was apparently bleeding all over the car and the garage, and it almost seems to me as though she's just trying to cover up in case blood was found on the car or in the garage. Probably within the next video, we will talk about how later on detectives find a significant amount of blood in the garage, and I believe on the car. So it's like, was she saying all this to cover her tracks? Another thing was, she mentioned him going to the gate. Again, it seems like she's trying to set this scene for the day that he goes missing. Was she trying to prove that Gannon went to the gate, he had a key, so if he left through the gate the next day, it wouldn't be weird? He had a key and he went that way, and they do have a Ring doorbell camera, so they would have clearly seen if he had gone through the front door. So it's almost like if she's trying to set the scene that he could be going out the side door. You know, it's just, I know I keep saying this word, but it really is just so bizarre and so strange. To me, the fact that she has a selfie with a timestamp, allegedly, and didn't release it is strange as well, because she released the carpet incident footage, you know, to try to prove her innocence. So why wouldn't she release a time-stamped, documented photo of Gannon alive, you know, whenever the footage had come out and everybody thinks like, oh, he didn't go in that day with her? Like, if he did and she has a photo of them together, why wouldn't she release that immediately? I mean, to me, that would be the first thing I would do if people were saying like, oh, you know, you did this, and you know, that would be my first choice of proving my innocence. I wouldn't even feel the need to make a statement about my innocence. I would just release that and be like, I mean, I clearly was with him at the time that you're saying that he wasn't with me. So, and maybe there's a reason. Maybe that she's not able to, due to the fact, you know, law enforcement are keeping that withheld from the public. It's very possible, but it's just like knowing Tisha's track record and how she constantly posts things on social media, at least at this point, you would think that would be one of the first things that she would have done. The ending kind of goes off the rails because her story has changed yet again from the initial story of Gannon went missing and, you know, whatever, to now there was a person at the gate, like watching them. Like the whole story just kind of goes off the rails at the end, and her initial story is totally changed. And it makes you wonder, was there somebody at the gate? Who is this person that was at the gate? And just buckle in for the affidavit video that I'm gonna record probably pretty soon after this one, because it is insane how many more times she will change her story and how many characters she adds to this false narrative that she creates. It's gonna seem kind of like I'm speeding through these this next month essentially of days, because I'm going to just get through the timeline in a chronological order and focus more on the details in the next video when I go through the affidavit. The affidavit will focus more on the actual timeline instead of just Tisha's timeline that's probably not even true. I just want to give this story in a chronological order, just because I think that's how it makes the most sense, and I want to break it down in a way that makes sense to everyone, and I feel like that's the best way. So by February 13th, the search for Gannon moves into a county called Douglas County, which is a close by county, but it's not the county that they are in. How many times can I say the word county? And I'm gonna read you an excerpt from an article from Fox 31, just again to tell you how the community came together for Gannon. Isabella Teles, the owner of Cake Fashions by Bella Marie, says she has been affected by the disappearance of Gannon, much like the rest of her community. She says, quote, "I just feel very invested in him and doing whatever we can to support Gannon and his family," she tells Fox 31. She plans to donate 100% of her bakery's profit from February 12th to the 14th to help the family financially as the desperate search for Gannon nears its third week at that point. So the community really just truly came together in a wonderful way to be the backbone and the support for the Stauch family and for Landon. And it's just a really beautiful thing that in tragedy there is still some beauty. So by February 14th, and I know this is probably like a duh thing, but I just want to go on record saying this is 2020, not 2021. We will start getting into like March and things like that, which obviously haven't happened in 2021, but I just want to clarify, although I haven't yet, that this is for 2020. The FBI and the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, along with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, come together around South Perry Park Road, and they started going through the snow. They were going through it with like long poles and like sifting through, like you would see somebody who's like mining for gold or whatever, like with a sifter. At this point, around 82 people had started searching for Gannon around this area. Again, I do believe that it was only law enforcement officers, although I could not find any confirmation on that. But remember, in a previous day so far, they had released that they no longer were looking for bystander searchers. They were just looking for law enforcement officers and those trained to handle evidence to continue on with the search. By February the 16th, over 555 tips have come into the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. They continued through the weekend, sifting through the snow, going through every area that they could, looking for evidence, clues, whatever they were looking for. Again, not much was released to the public, especially as the case was progressing at that time. Nothing really came in by February 17th, and there are some days where there was not much to go off of. A lot of my research came from going back and looking through articles and also going through the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, their Facebook page and their daily updates, and also Spencer Wilson from KKTV, his Twitter account, going through, and so I'm basing it off of a lot of that. And so I'm trying to do day-to-day updates, but some days there just wasn't anything. And there are going to be big gaps in days, and that's just because there wasn't a lot going on differently than what had been going on, which is just continually searching, sifting through snow, trying to go to different areas. So I'm going to hit some of the bigger points, and again, the arrest affidavit we'll talk about. We'll go into a lot more of the minute details and things. By February 18th, there were 637 tips that had come into authorities, and despite the current snowstorm that had gone through the area, they were continually and vigorously searching for Gannon. At this point, Tisha does an online exclusive interview with a site called Crime Online, and it's a true crime news outlet website. Nancy Grace has a lot to do with it, but it's kind of just in the format of articles. There's no audio or video. I will link those articles below. Now there are a lot. There's like 6 pages worth of articles on the Gannon Stauch case. So if you're interested in reading these articles, she does them around the late January to early February. They're by Lee Egan. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I will link them all below for you to read if you're interested. They're a little lengthy, but they are really telling to who Tisha is as a person and like where her mental space, like where she is mentally at this point. By February 21st, the ground search for Gannon had stopped, but the investigation had continued on. Now, it's not released as to why the search stopped, but it did. By February 28th, the scheduled search for Gannon had stopped, and the El Paso County Sheriff's Department really didn't tell us why the search stopped. So we had to assume there was some like information on the inside that was going on that had not been released to the public yet. And that's exactly what it was. We later find out that on February 28th of 2020, an arrest warrant for Letitia Stauch was issued. Much to not anyone's surprise, because everybody at that point kind of was thinking that she at least had something to do with it. Nobody was really surprised when on March 2nd, Letitia was arrested, but she was arrested in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is where she was initially from. I'm going to read these charges off just so I can make sure I get them verbatim, but Tisha was arrested for the murder of a child under 12 years of age by a person in a position of trust, child abuse resulting in death, and tampering with a deceased body. Now, the pain that I know that I felt at this point was incredible, because I was so invested in this case, and I really thought that Gannon was going to come home, that maybe he really had ran away or someone had him. But the pain that Gannon's family felt, I can't even begin to imagine, because it's something I've never experienced. So the press conference that they did really speaks for that, how they felt, at least a glimpse into what they were going through at that time. And all I can say is Landon is the strongest person I have ever seen in my life. I'm sure Al and the remainder of their family is, but Landon is, I just can't even imagine the unbearable pain that she was experiencing. And to go into this press conference and release a statement is just overwhelmingly amazing. I can't even think of a better word. Again, with the press conference, it's a lot, so I'm going to do a voiceover to try to help this sound out a little bit. And again, I want to promise that the sound will be better by the next video. Sheriff Elder from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office is the one that opens up the press conference, and he states that at this point it has been 5 weeks since the disappearance of Gannon happened, and he wanted to update the public on some information. That morning, just after 8 a.m., they arrested Letitia Stauch and took her into custody. She will be held without bond in the J. Rubin Detention Center in Horry County, South Carolina, while she will remain until she's extradited back to El Paso County in Colorado. He then read her charges. At this point, these are her charges. They have changed since, but at this point during the press conference, this is what he stated. Charge 1 was murder in the first degree of a child under 12 years of age by a person in a position of trust. This is a Class 1 felony, and a potential penalty would be life in prison without the possibility of parole. Second, child abuse resulting in death.
Third, tampering with a deceased human body. And fourth, tampering with physical evidence. He stressed how badly of a difficult time this has been for the family and requested privacy for them. He states it's a rapidly developing and highly complex investigation. He thanked officers both locally and across the country for all of their work and hours they had put into this case. He thanked the volunteers for all of their help and offers condolences to the family. He says this is just the beginning of this case. They then introduce Lieutenant Mitch Mahalko. He states he will not be going into detail about the investigation that led to Tisha's arrest. He says it's a, quote, methodical and time-consuming multi-state operation, end quote. There have been thousands of hours of investigation under the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and also departments across the nation. They've used drones, horses, canines, and other resources as well. Information has been developed that's helped them narrow their search. Sadly, at that time, they stated that they do not believe that Gannon is alive, but they will continue to search for him for long hours. He expressed his sympathies to the family and said it's not just been an investigation for their department. It's become personal and they will remain in their hearts forever. They'll continue to work with the FBI, DA's office, and others as they come to a conclusion on this case. They then turn it over to FBI Denver's Division Special Agent in charge, Dean Phillips. He expresses condolences to everyone involved. He asked the press for space and time to process the information they were given. He thanks the community for their patience, understanding, assistance, and support as they work through the investigation. He thanks the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and surrounding law enforcement officers for their help and all of their work, stating they work tirelessly and seamlessly together. He states that although this obviously isn't the outcome they wanted, they'll continue to work aggressively and through to the end. He states that the FBI brought a lot of resources to help and will continue to answer the call. They'll continue to help until the end, because when it comes to the loss of a child, the FBI will always bring all available and logical resources to best help law enforcement partners. All evidence points to foul play, but no reason to believe that there are any other threats to the children in the community from this specific incident. Then they introduce Michael Allen as the lead prosecutor in this case. He states that the affidavit remains sealed, which it doesn't, but not by their choice. We will get more into that in the next video. They just want to make sure that they achieve justice. They will not be talking about the facts of this case, but they urge you to continue to call in credible tips as they continue the investigation. They still want to bring Gannon home so that his family can achieve closure and he can have the proper burial that he deserves. They also want to make sure that they hold Lexie Stauch accountable for this awful crime that she has committed. They're working to extradite her back to Colorado as soon as possible, but he reminds us that all defendants are innocent until proven guilty. At this point, Landon, Gannon's mother, steps up to speak, and it is gut-wrenching, yet so incredibly inspiring at the same time. This is her full statement. Quote, "I really am not in the correct mindset to even be standing up here, but if I had to say one thing, when he said Gannon is no longer with us, I'd have to say Gannon is with us. After the stories from people all over the world, he's not only my hero anymore, he's the world's hero. So I thank the community for the positive support from a state I've never visited more than 2 or 3 times. I'm astounded by the amount of love that's not come for me, but for my boy. I never thought I'd be standing here. It's a nightmare. I've had to put trust in people I don't know. Today, I got the worst news and the best news. Obviously, we all know what the worst news is, but the best news is that justice will be served, and I will make sure that justice will be served, because my boy did not deserve any of this that has happened to him. I urge the media one more time to just hold off on questions until we know that this person, the stepmom that I even trusted, she will pay 100% for this heinous thing she did. I know that's going to be done. I beg and plead of you, all of you that have seen this story, please hold this close to you. I want to live on this earth knowing justice was served for my boy. I know you've seen pictures, you've seen stories, you've seen my little man. He truly is my hero. I'm gladly giving that to you guys, that he can be your hero. I've heard stories of people who haven't prayed in years, who have fallen to their knees to pray. I know where my son is at without a shadow of a doubt. So many families have been brought closer together, all because of this. I know my boy is special. I've told my family and friends that Gannon has a testimony and a story, that he's special. And so this is his story. So make that story magnificent, who my child is. I'm putting my trust into you guys to do that. Thank you for allowing Gannon to be your hero and sharing him with us. End quote. Then Jacqueline Kirby, who's a spokesperson for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, reads a statement on behalf of Al Stauch, Gannon's father. This is his full statement. Quote, in a moment, on September 29th, 2008, my heart stopped as my baby boy entered this world way too early, weighing only 1 pound, 6 ounces. His infectious smile and constant laughter made an impact on every single person he's ever met. Although I missed the years when he was learning to walk, talk, and welcome his little sister home from the hospital, I was looking forward to his teenage years and the fun we had ahead of us as he became a young man. In a moment on March 2nd, 2020, my heart stopped again. With what we have heard up to this point, my little boy is not coming home. We will never play Nintendo again. No more Taco Tuesdays. No more smooth-looking haircuts. No more Big Bubba for my Lena. And no more G-Man for the world. The person who committed this heinous, horrible crime is someone that I gave more to than anyone else on this planet, and that's a burden I'll carry with me for a very long time. But the God I believe in is the owner and decider of justice and vengeance only He can repay. Although I'm selfish and want my baby boy here now and forever, how can I question God for bringing Gannon home with him? Gannon believed in God, and I will never stop believing. Thank you to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and the FBI for the thousands of hours it took to uncover the truth. May they stay strong and focused as they move forward. End quote. Jacqueline then announced that Letitia's mugshot will be available on their social media as soon as she's booked. They didn't take any questions, and they thanked the media for their constant coverage and not letting the nation forget about Gannon. She states their work is not done and urges that they continue to work together to find him.
On March 5th, Letitia was extradited back to Colorado from South Carolina. During the 48-hour trip back to El Paso County, Letitia somehow slipped out of her handcuffs, got out of her handcuffs somehow, and attacked the deputy that was transporting her. The deputy was treated at a Kansas hospital, and it is reported that Letitia spends the night in a Kansas jail to continue her drive to Colorado the following day. So skipping ahead. And the reason being is we are going to cover a lot of what's going on at that point in the next video. We're going to skip ahead to March 17th. Again, you will get all the information. It's just I'm trying to keep it in a chronological order instead of going super into detail on one specific thing. I'm going to focus on that in the next video. So moving ahead to March 17th, which is just such a painful bit of information, and it may be hard to hear, so just a heads up. March 17th, the remains of what appeared to be a young boy were found in Pace, Florida, which is nearly 1,400 miles away from Gannon's home in Colorado. Allegedly, a source told Fox 31 that the boy had been stabbed, shot, and placed into a suitcase before being thrown under a bridge in Florida. His body was found by a Florida Department of Transportation construction crew member, and it was found near Escambia River Bridge on Interstate 90. Now, I remember hearing this information and thinking, a lot of the Gannon Stauch missing person at this point was the missing person Facebook groups. And I remember a lot of people posting it and being like, surely not, like that's so far away from his home. That's not even close to where T lives or was in South Carolina, so surely that's not him. And unfortunately, just a few days later, on March 20th, an autopsy is conducted by a District 1 medical examiner in Florida, and the remains were tentatively identified as Gannon Stauch. That's just, I have no words. That's just so gut-wrenching that not only was he put through so much, but he was just thrown away and discarded like he was nothing under some bridge in like a completely different state, so far away from his home and his family. It's just, it makes me absolutely so sick to my stomach. The Judicial District Attorney filed additional charges, and again, I'm going to read those to make sure that I have them correct. First-degree murder after deliberation and 8 counts of committing a crime of violence. More than 107 search warrants had been filed in the case at that point. Gannon's father released a statement, which again, I'm going to read in a voiceover instead of reading it now.
I would like to take this opportunity to reach out to the community here in Colorado and all over the nation to express my deepest gratitude and true heartfelt appreciation for the overwhelming support. Many of you have either requested or inquired about information from me or interacted with me throughout these past 2 months. As you can tell from the initial missing child report to the arrest and charges in early March, and know the wonderful yet gut-wrenching news that Gannon's body has been recovered, this has been a heartbreaking and absolutely devastating time period in my life. I'm a very private person anyway, but balancing my desire to show my great appreciation and my need to cope with the continually evolving devastation has not been easy. I thank each member of the community and media that has respected my privacy and need to process everything that has happened. Those who I have personally trusted with information in the public have respected my privacy in an epic manner, and to those 1 or 2 people, I owe you a lifelong debt of gratitude. If there is any question about whom I trust, take a look at who releases this statement. Anyone else is simply using me, my precious, heartbroken daughter, and my loving family as fodder for their personal agenda, which is absolutely despicable. To those who are loving, supportive, and peaceful, thank you a million times over, and God bless you all. I will more than likely not give any public interviews or statements until the end of the case, but I thank you all in advance for respecting my approach. This statement was released by Restoration Church, which is the church that Alan Gannon attended.
So I'm going to leave you there until the next video, although a lot has happened and changed since then. But again, I wanted to get everything out chronologically. So I'm going to get this video edited, posted hopefully by tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'm going to film the affidavit video and try to get that posted by this upcoming week at least. Please bear with me as I do, again, have a job and I have a lot going on right now, but I do want to get this out because, again, this case is so personal to me, and I think we all have those cases that just stick with us and that you kind of cling to when you're reading about them. And I don't know if it's because I remember this happening from like day one, or if it's just something, nothing really connects. I don't have a child, so I don't know why it sits with me so closely, but it does. And so again, I want to post the affidavit video, and then I think I want to step away from the Gannon case for a while. And please don't think that, I don't have the ability to do true crime, because I am, stepping away from a specific case, but you have to take care of your mental health first, and that's kind of important to me. I still want to get all the information out to you, and again, I will keep you posted on everything as it's going on. Please feel free to follow my Instagram for updates, and leave a comment if you have another case that you're interested in. My Instagram handle again is Lexie Reeves. I'm currently working on 3 other cases that I'm going to cover for you. I had the Elisa Lam case on my schedule next, and I got through all of my research and my outline, and I was finalizing my script when the new documentary on Netflix came out, and it has completely rocked my world and changed my view of the entire case. So not much has changed in the sense of my script, just because I try to keep my opinion out of a lot of cases and things, especially when like that, where you could speculate so much. But a lot of new information has come out that I thought I knew everything about the case that was released to the public, but clearly I did not. So I want to make some changes to that before I get that case presented to you guys. I want to leave something incredibly important to me, and that is the Gannon Stauch Support Fund, organized by Al and Gannon Stauch's church. So I'm going to leave that below. I left it below my last video. If you click the link and choose Gannon Stauch Support in the fund option, 100% donations are donated to the Stauch family to seek justice for Gannon. So please feel free to donate to that if you are able to and you have the desire to. And again, thank you so much for clicking onto this video. I promise that it's gonna get better now that I have a new space, and so I'm hoping that you enjoy this video. I know it's not as detailed and as long and intricate as the last one was, but this was kind of a segue into another video, which is the affidavit video. So please bear with me, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day and you stay safe. You are wearing your masks. We are social distancing still, even though the pandemic has been going on for so long. I hope that you're still staying safe and staying mentally healthy as well as physically healthy. Feel free to leave any comments down below. I'm gonna stop rambling. I'll see you guys later. Bye.